This is all about Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Let's take a look at our top stories of the day. 3 million people, almost half the population of El Salvador, have been onboarded onto the state-run Bitcoin Shiva wallet, according to President Nayib Bukele. El Salvadorans were incentivized to download the electronic wallet app on September 7th to receive $30 worth of Bitcoin. The volatile cryptocurrency was worth about $53,000 at the time, though, and has not recovered to that level of price since. Nevertheless, El Salvador bought 700 BTC amid Bitcoin's dip, and now their purchase is paying off and making a profit. Meanwhile, the U.S. Federal Reserve is set to release its review of the risks and opportunities in introducing a central bank digital currency as early as this week. Fed Chair Jerome Powell saying on September 22nd that a CBDC would only launch if there are, quote, clear and tangible benefits that outweigh any costs and risks. Meanwhile, the Bank for International Settlements has 3 new reports on CBDCs, with a key conclusion saying a digital currency could have a manageable effect on the banking system. And finally, CoinDesk unveiling its second annual Top Universities for Blockchain resource for those looking to study or do research in an academic environment. The ranking includes 230 schools internationally, finding that many of the top universities for crypto are in Asia. The National University of Singapore tops the list. You can read the full methodology of this deeply researched project on CoinDesk.com. All right, let's have a live look at Bitcoin. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index currently gunning for $50,000, trading at 49,365. Bitcoin is up about 1% over the past 24 hours. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as a leader in crypto news, events, and data.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
Digital asset investment products attracted $90 million in new money in the 7 days last Friday, the 7th straight week of inflows. Bitcoin-focused funds took in $69 million, according to a report published by CoinShares today. It was the 3rd straight week of inflows for Bitcoin funds, pushing the cumulative intake over the period to $115 million and cementing a trend reversal from the prior few months when redemptions were the norm. CoinShares saying the turnaround, quote, in sentiment is due to growing confidence in the asset class among investors and more accommodative statements from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and the Federal Reserve. Nevertheless, when it comes to price, Bitcoin and the broader crypto market in the short term looking to be taking a breather after rising by nearly 10% on Friday. That was the biggest single-day gain in almost 3 months based on CoinDesk 20 data, but Bitcoin now challenging $50,000 resistance. And joining us now to discuss Bitcoin price and more is Mike Belshe, CEO of Bitco, an institutional crypto custody and security firm. Hey there, Mike. Good Monday afternoon to you. Would love to hear your outlook on Bitcoin as for the short term in the next 3 months, end of year.
Great to see you again, Christine. Well, look, I think in the short term, things probably look pretty good right now. As you said in the intro, institutions, individuals, and the like have all been looking for signals that some of the regulatory hurdles that we've seen in the last few months are going to be absolved. And Jay Powell's comments this week certainly very positive. Obviously, there's still more concern, but you can also look at another extreme political regime, in China, where they've banned crypto outright, and this was more or less shrugged off by the Bitcoin industry. And I think this demonstrates that Bitcoin is actually not vulnerable to a single government deciding to turn it off. And I think this is encouraging investors. So for the long term, of course, we've still got all the sound principles of money that comes with Bitcoin fueling its sales.
Interesting. And when stepping back and trying to understand some of the macro factors impacting the price, we did see this bounce on Friday. What was behind that in your view?
It's hard to say if you're trying to find an individual bounce. There could have been news at that time, or it could have been even just large trades in certain ways taking effect. So I don't have a particular prediction on that small of a view. For the long term, I think things are still looking super good.
Do you have a price prediction for the long-term view, end of 22?
End of 22. Well, it'll be up over 100,000. I'm not sure exactly where it'll be. I think we will probably also see a large peak and then a large retreat. So, it's a volatile space. Be prepared for it. If you're in it for the long term, you're all a good ride.
Fair enough. All right. So I wanted to bring up this Twitter conversation that has been gaining some traction. This one from Jill Gunter, VC, and sometimes CoinDesk contributor, saying, quote, "Controversial take, not your keys, not your crypto is no longer sage advice for those getting into crypto. Should be, when possible, custody with one of the top 5 exchanges. And if your asset isn't supported, ask yourself if you really understand why you hold it." And I ask you because, you come from an interesting perspective being a crypto institutional custody platform. But Jill is asking for a bit of trouble here. Bitcoiners probably won't like what she's putting forward there, but I wonder what your take on it is.
Well, this has been an age-old question in Bitcoin as to whether you have to hold your own keys or whether, you can rely and trust others. The great thing about Bitcoin is for the first time ever, you have the choice. You never had that choice in the traditional banking system, yet you have it today. So if you do feel capable with the right amount of asset protected on your own, you can do that. At the same time, most non-computer science people feel a little bit challenged about how they would protect large amounts of asset, particularly if it's a significant part of their overall balance sheet, and do they have the capabilities and skills to keep the asset safe for the long term? So it's not surprising that people will turn to banks from time to time. And I think she missed on one key point, which is that actually the entire industry needs to build better market structure. You typically never would have an exchange also be the holder of the asset, and trading the asset is one particular activity. Signing up 100,000 new retail users every day is a specific skill. Securing the asset, holding it safe, keeping a secondary check and balance to make sure the balances are all there is the number one way we can make sure that you're not invulnerable should an exchange have a single point of failure issue that loses your coin.
Right, exactly.
So use a custodian is my point.
We see several times in the news that exchanges have had hacking. They have central points of failure, which is, the whole point of decentralization is to give you that power.
It's not unique to crypto, right? So, Bernie Madoff has been quite public. Like, if his clients had required him to hold their assets at an independent custodian, he could have never perpetrated that fraud. Look, this is just part of what we need to have for market structure. But anyway, to Jill's point, people should have choice. Sometimes they'll choose to store large amounts of asset in a custodian. Sometimes they might hold it on their own. If you're a fiduciary, that is, you're holding someone else's money and you are responsible for it on their behalf, of course you have to be using a bank or custodian. You can't hold that in your sock drawer.
Okay. And finally, I just want to get into El Salvador. They've had a bit of a shaky start in their Bitcoin law rollout. There is rising adoption in the country of Bitcoin, but it's been hampered by technical glitches. They gave everybody $30 worth of Bitcoin on September 7th. It's still not worth the $30 that it was initially. There have been protests, but the silver lining seems to be that the country is finally in the green after buying 700 Bitcoins. What's your assessment of the situation?
Look, I actually don't think it's been nearly as negative as some people want to say it is. As you know, Bitco's helped with some of the security and behind-the-scenes wallet platform work. Bringing up an app with 3 million new users, in a short period of time, often has some struggles. I think they've had a few, but it doesn't seem like there's been any major problems whatsoever. Obviously, the entire public has been watching. This is an historic moment where for the first time ever, we have a sovereign state adopting Bitcoin as a legal form of payment. So it's not too surprising that there could be some glitches with that. On the protests and whatnot, Bitcoin has always required education. It is a new model. It may seem scary to some, but time and time again, what we're seeing is as people learn it, as people realize there's a new model, a better way, they usually come over in the end.
So Mike, is Bitco a custodian in El Salvador? And I wonder, what kind of challenges, if so, you're facing?
So we're actually not the custodian. We're not the custodian in this particular rollout, but we provide some of the wallet security technology that they're using within the Chivo application. Obviously they've got a number of issues that they've had to solve in terms of how they handle custody and how they handle distribution. They've got a great team that's been working on that in spite of a few small glitches, but I think it's going pretty well, actually. I think it's going to be a great experiment.
All right. Mike, we'll leave it there. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
All right, that was Bitco CEO Mike Belshe. Coming up, China's mining industry may be in shreds, but Bitcoin's hash rate continues climbing. More with Kevin Zhang from Foundry. Welcome back. Bitcoin mining on the move. International shipping and crypto mining company Sino Global will invest $10 million to develop a new proprietary Bitcoin mining machine called Thor in a joint venture with blockchain technology firm HiSharp. Meanwhile, Hive Blockchain, a Vancouver, British Columbia-based crypto mining company focused on BTC and ETH, reported its first quarter profit surging tenfold from a year earlier. And finally, Marathon Digital Holdings, another mining company, has secured a $100 million revolving line of credit with Silvergate Bank in Bitcoin and US dollars. Joining us now to discuss these big moves is Kevin Zhang, Vice President of Foundry, a crypto mining advisor and sister company to CoinDesk under parent company Digital Currency Group. Hey there, Kevin. So we know China has been clamping down on crypto mining and trading. Is that the reason we see the North American mining industry making big investments like Marathon and big profits like Hive Blockchain?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it certainly factors in. That being said, I think these large North American firms, they already had their large growth plans already in place. But before we go any further, I would like to point out, this triggers me quite a bit. The photo you guys were using for the mining segment, those are actually GPUs. So GPUs aren't actually profitable mining Bitcoin anymore. So
we've got an antique.
My Bitcoin mining friends.
We're going antique, old school on you. All right, fair enough. All right, but speaking of which, status update in China. So Bitmain is moving, Alibaba is ending mining equipment manufacturing. Local media reports say Chinese authorities seized over 10,000 crypto mining rigs from a government-operated tech park in Inner Mongolia province. At least 18 more crypto platforms and companies are exiting China. And I'm wondering where will they go? What do you think? What do you think will happen in the Chinese mining industry?
Yeah, I think that's a question on top of everyone's mind right now. So at the very end of June, we saw the large crackdowns on the mining facilities, and we saw the subsequent hash rate and difficulty drops. A lot of the hash rate migrated to other parts of the world, like Central Asia with Kazakhstan and parts of North America. There was some hash rate that stayed behind, and that has once again been cracked down and shut off again. But now we're seeing the migrations taking place in not only the hash rate in the mining facilities, but also with the manufacturers and with the mining pools. So when it comes to manufacturers, they're looking to move overseas to the Malaysias of the world, Indonesia and Thailand, where they already have existing supply chains, but now they're going to be increasing the throughput, the capacities. As far as the actual mining pools and the software layer that miners are connecting to, when the cloud services are all being removed, these mining pools are now moving overseas as well. So recently, Pooling announced that they're moving to Austin, Texas. Bitmain, they had their long legacy mining pool, Ampool, break off from the parent company, and now they're looking to possibly form a mining pool as well.
Wow. And we have a chart of Bitcoin's hash rate chugging toward its May all-time high. Tell me about what's going on here.
Yeah, so I think I previewed it a little bit earlier, where you see that the hash rate dropped quite significantly towards the end of June. That was with the first round of major crackdowns within China. And then a little bit after July, during the month of August to September, we had large recoveries in hash rate. That was both with the hash rate migrating, but also some of the smaller and medium-scale miners that were flying under the radar turning back on within China. But these miners have once again started to shut off. But it's mostly the aggressive growth in other regions, right? New miners coming online in North America, Central Asia, and parts of Europe. And it's just really exciting to see the hash rate be so resilient and the network be so resilient, regardless of all these bans.
Kevin, do you think that there is a future for mining in China?
I think there will be a small footprint that will always be in China. There's so much legacy knowledge and expertise that's locally there. And there's always going to be stranded power in smaller scale miners and facilities and access to electricity that needs to be tapped into. And it'd be a waste not for a lot of these actors not to turn the machines on locally.
Mm-hmm. So we had Bobby Lee on CoinDesk TV earlier, and he's the founder of BTCC, the first Bitcoin exchange in China. He said that the next loophole that China may close are the OTC desks. And I wonder, how far do you think China will go in their clampdown on crypto?
Yeah, I think they're willing to go quite far, right? It's been a long time meme and recurring theme that China bans Bitcoin, this and that, but this is certainly the most serious ban they've had so far. So with some of my colleagues and friends that are in China, they're looking to OTC. They've already started to decline offers for OTC bids and asks, especially from foreigners that are within China. I think it's going to be certainly a risky business. There will always be some type of activity, but it's definitely going to be more limited, especially in the short term while this is while crypto and trading is in the crosshairs.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what they've done with the internet there. It's similarly happening to crypto. All right, Kevin, we got to wrap it there, but thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing us your insights. That was Foundry Vice President Kevin Zhang. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. You're watching CoinDesk TV.